On page 337 of the hardcover edition of his book, Hitch 22, Christopher Hitchens said Mother Teresa had, quote, frightful faults and crimes, unquote. He didn't say what they were. He wanted his readers to just take his accusation on faith. Couldn't he squeeze one paragraph into the book to explain his reasoning? I know he wrote a book about Mother Teresa years ago, but surely he knew that it sold poorly and most public libraries didn't bother to buy a copy of it. The Guardian, the most prominent socialist newspaper in Great Britain, published a review of it in the November 3, 1995 issue. The reviewer concluded that the book is much ado about nothing, and Hitchens had absolutely no evidence that Mother Teresa ever did anything seriously bad. Colm Tóibín is a gay Irishman who has become prominent as a journalist and fiction writer. He has written a very irreverent novel about Jesus' mother, and I doubt, therefore, that Tóibín is reluctant to point out the flaws of the Catholic Church. Yet he says Hitchens' writings about Mother Teresa were, quote, mean, unquote, and that, quote, in Hitchens' assaults on Mother Teresa, it is apparent that the storm had merely found its teacup, unquote. You can read that in the article written by Tóibín in the February 6, 2005 issue of the New York Times Book Review. Tóibín is spelled T as in Tennessee, O-I-B-I-N. Hitchens complained that Mother Teresa was willing to accept donations from sleazy characters, such as Ferdinand Marcos. When people criticized her for that, she replied that she didn't think she had the right to turn down a donation intended to help the poor. I'm not sure I would go along with that line of reasoning, but I can see why some people might believe it. One could argue it either way. Let's also remember that she is not alone in this. A man named Leonard Blavatnik became a billionaire in Russia through crooked business deals because he had political connections. Yet Oxford University accepted a $100 million donation from him, and Harvard University accepted a $50 million donation from him, and Yale University accepted a $10 million donation from him. These facts are in an article by Connie Bruck in the January 20th, 2014 issue of New Yorker magazine. If one is going to condemn Mother Teresa, then one must condemn Oxford, Harvard, and Yale too. Yet I never heard of Hitchens doing that. Then on page 138 of the July 2011 issue of Atlantic Monthly magazine, Hitchens complained in a book review that when Mother Teresa went to the Vatican to meet Pope Paul VI, she wore her everyday clothes and took a bus to get to the Vatican. Hitchens said this was, quote, not modesty but ostentation, unquote. I wonder if Hitchens was trying to get into the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's biggest nitpicker. I've never met a pope, but I've seen plenty of photographs of priests and nuns with popes, and they always wear their everyday clothes when meeting one. Nobody expects them to do otherwise, because it is common knowledge that most priests and nuns have very little money. What on earth did Hitchens think Mother Teresa should have done? Buy a pink wool skirt suit and a string of pearls? If she had done that, of course, he would have criticized her for that too. And what is wrong with riding a bus? What makes him think taking a taxi would have been better? What is wrong with the lady setting a good example for people by taking public transportation? Hitchens never explained that. If Hitchens' buddy Ralph Nader had taken a bus to go somewhere, I doubt Hitchens would have criticized him for that. The fact remains that when Mother Teresa died, India gave her a state funeral. 13,000 people attended, and representatives of the Zoroastrians, the Sikhs, the Hindus, the Muslims, the Buddhists, the Catholics, and the Protestants all spoke in praise of her. The gun carriage that carried her coffin through the streets was the same one used to carry the coffins of Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru. You can read an article about this in the September 14, 1997 Washington Post. Needless to say, when that rotten scoundrel Hitchens died, mourning for him was not so extensive.